Hi guys, this is Miss Brown speaking. So last week we learned how to combine like terms. Remember, like terms had the same variable with the same exponent. And then at the beginning of the week, we did a review of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing positive and negative numbers. And next we talked about distributing. So today we're going to have to put all of that together to distribute and combine like terms. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that it is very important that we pay attention to our signs. So when we distribute something, it's like we're giving something out, okay? So we're used to our distribution looking like this, something like 3 and in parentheses times x plus 2. And the thing that we would be giving out is that 3 that's on the outside of the parentheses. And we would be multiplying the x by 3, which would give us 3x. And then we would multiply that positive 2 by 3. And that would give us a positive 6. Well, in the problems that we have to do today, it's a little bit more difficult to tell what we're distributing, but a good hint is to look for the parentheses. So notice our parentheses are right here. So the thing that we're distributing is right beside the parentheses. And it is guys, pay attention to this. It's a negative 2. We've got to pay attention to that sign in front of the 2. That's a negative 2. So I'm going to distribute, but before I start distributing, you see this negative 2 right here? I'm going to go ahead and just copy it down. Now, I'm going to give out that negative 2 to this positive 2. Negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. And then I have to pass out this negative 2 to that's a negative 8b. So again, negative 2 times negative 8b. A negative times a negative is a positive. And 2 times 8 is 16. And we can't forget the b. But now we need to combine like terms. Remember, like terms have the same variable raised to the same power. Well, I see this negative 2, which is just a constant, and it has no variable. And I also see a negative 4, which is also a constant and has no variable. I see this positive 16b, but unfortunately, there's nothing to combine with that positive 16b. So I need to figure out what is negative 2 combined with, remember combining to add, combined with negative 4. When we add two numbers with the same sign, we simply add those numbers' absolute values and keep the sign of both numbers. So 4 plus 2 is 6, but don't forget that negative sign. And then I have to bring down that positive 16b, and this is my final answer. Negative 6 plus 16b. Another example. So again, we're going to distribute and combine like terms. First thing we need to figure out is what are we distributing? A good key or a good clue are the parentheses. So I'm looking at these parentheses and I'm looking for a number right up against the parentheses, right up against it, okay? If I look, this 2 is right up against those parentheses. So that's what I'm going to be giving out. So I have to give out this 2 to the negative a. So 2 multiplied by negative a positive times a negative is a negative. So that's negative 2a. And then I have to give out this 2 to the negative 8. So a positive 2 times a negative 8 is negative 16. Now notice I haven't done anything with this positive 7a, so I'm just going to bring that down. So now that I'm done distributing, I am going to see if I can combine like terms. Well, let me look for like terms. I noticed that this negative 2 has an a beside it. And then I noticed the last term, that positive 7 has an a beside it. So those are like terms. And then in the middle, I just have poor little negative 16 who has no one to combine with, and that's okay. So I'm going to combine my terms that have a variable a. So I'm going to look at their coefficients. The coefficient of the first term is a negative 2, and I have to combine that with the coefficient of the last term, which is 7. So negative 2 plus 7. Well, when I'm adding a negative and a positive, they have different signs, and my rule is to subtract their absolute values and keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. So 7 minus 2 is 5, and because that 7 is positive, my answer is positive as well. Therefore, negative 2a combined with positive 7a gives me a positive 5a. And I haven't done anything with this negative 16, so I'm just going to bring it down. And that's my final answer, 5a minus 16. One more example. So first I need to distribute, but I've got to figure out what I'm distributing. So a good clue is to look for the parentheses and then look for a number right up against the parentheses, right next to the parentheses. And my number here is negative 9. Make sure you recognize that that negative belongs to the 9. So I am going to rewrite this. Notice this negative n right here. I'm not doing anything with that right now, so I'm just going to bring that down so I don't forget it. But now I have to distribute, so I am going to give out that negative 9 to that positive 1. So a negative 9 multiplied by a positive 1 is negative 9. And I still have to distribute or give out that negative 9 to the positive 6n. So negative 9 times positive 6n is negative 54n. Okay, so now I have to combine like terms. So I'm going to look for like terms. Well, if I look, my first term, negative n, that's an n to the first power. And I'm going to remember that there's actually a coefficient of 1 in front of that n, even though I don't see it. And then I'm going to look at the last term, which is negative 54, which has an n as well. And another term that we have that won't combine so good with anybody is this negative 9. It's just all by itself, and that's okay. So I'm going to combine like terms. I need to look at the coefficient of the first term, which is -1, and combine it with, which means to add it to, the coefficient of that last term is -54. But I have to know my rules. My rules for adding two numbers with the same sign, one's negative, the other's negative. Adding two numbers with the same sign is to add their absolute values and keep the sign of both numbers. So 54 plus 1 is just 55. And since both numbers are negative, my answer is going to be negative as well. Therefore, -1n combined with -54n is -55n. And since that -9 doesn't have anything to combine with, I'm just going to bring it down. And that is my answer, -55 minus n.